And I'm David. And we are talking about Big Brother.
But first, if you're new to this channel, please click subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. Please.
And if you want to support us on Patreon, you can find the links in the description, maybe up here or
yes,
there.
they're around. Join
somewhere.
our community.
Yes.
We have fun.
So, with this recap, we are going to recap Wednesday's episode and the live eviction Thursday.
Yes.
And we're watching the live feeds right now as we tape. Maybe we'll know some spoilers for the HOH.
Is happening as we record this.
Yes.
Okay, Wednesday.
Yes.
Most of it we've spoiled for you in our previous video, but let's go through it.
Right. So it starts with Christy sort of assuming that Nick is the prankster in the DR, and Jackson is kind of nervous that he could like potentially be a renom for the prankster. Nick and Christy are both sort of grappling with the fact that they're on the block. Like Nick is saying, I respect Holly's move.
Right.
And Christy's like, well, I think she would have put me up if she could. So they're both just kind of like speculating.
And I think that Nick really didn't know that. He was like, you think? And she's like, yeah, because she knew she would have gone up as a pawn.
Yeah.
And Nick was like, huh.
Uh-huh.
Because I thought I was doing something different.
Right.
As the prankster.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Alright.
Right, I thought I was doing something that Holly wouldn't do.
And Chrissy's like, look, I know you put me up as the prankster, but whatever.
Whatever, right.
She probably said that about everyone in the DR. Look, Nicole, I know you put me up as the prankster.
Again.
And then they like just used the one that was accurate.
Again. Christy manifests everything so that she can definitely get it
Be
right.
accurate.
Yes. And then there's that conversation between Nick and Christy, and Nick's like saying, you know, one of us is gonna, we're both fighting for the veto, like one of us is gonna go, I'll respect, wish you well. And she's like, and she's like, eye roll, like, don't wish me well. I know that you're gunning for me. I know you put me up, like, don't do that.
But you know what, honestly, that's the difference between their game.
Yeah.
Because Nick legitimately just wants to be best friends with this cool people's club.
It's so true.
And he's like, cool, Christy, we're good, right?
Yeah.
Like, as if they were never had this big blow up or whatever.
Yes.
Christy's like, no, you're my public enemy so that I can stay in this house.
Right.
Stop it.
Right. So then we see more of the pie punishment, which Nicole says is not really a punishment. Like she's having, it really is not a punishment for her and Jess and Cliff because they get to pie everybody else in the house. Like it's really a punishment for the whole house.
It kind of is. I mean, the house is disgusting. They say it stinks.
Oh.
It's everywhere. Like half of this week, she just had, Nicole just wore like pie in her hair, you know?
Yes.
But she was living it and loving it.
Living and loving
Whatever.
it. Yep.
I was living for it. This week was probably the most entertaining feeds.
So
just
fun.
because of these pranks.
Yes.
And more they show in Thursday's episode. I was glad that they showed them because they were just really enjoyable to watch.
So fun. I loved the one in Wednesday where they announced like you have to pie everybody in the house and Nick's in the DR and he's like, I'm not leaving. Like I'm not going anywhere. And then Nicole comes in and pies him in the DR. It was so fun.
That stuff is just good times.
It's so good.
But can we just get to the point of Wednesday's episode?
Yes, let's get to the point. Zingbot, everybody. Like
that's the only reason I'm tuning in.
Yes, I mean Zingbot is the perfect addition to this prankster week, right?
Yes.
Like zings and making fun of people and just you know, turning the house upside down kind of thing, which is super fun. And I'm just so glad to see Zingbot again, but I gotta say I didn't love the zings this year.
You know, the last few years I don't think I've really loved them.
Yeah, I don't know if they lost their zing writer or what, but they were a little weak sauce.
They could just do better. And like it was interesting because even Tommy was like, you had so much to work with Christy, you guys.
And you chose chewing?
Chewing. Granted, her chewing is ridiculous, hilarious. It's over the top.
Right.
So it's zing worthy.
Yes.
But he's right. I mean, when your best friend, childhood friend is saying, oh my god, there was so much more.
Oh my gosh. And like it's like we wouldn't have known, I mean the feedsters know, but the general viewing public wouldn't have known about this chewing zing unless they had done the chewing package the week before.
They just had to do it.
So they had to set the stage for a chewing zing by doing that package. But that was not great. The only ones I really liked were Jackson's because the house is silent, which you know means it's a good zing, right? When they're like, should I refer to you as Jackson or Mickey or like, pompous douchebag? And they're like, Zingbot went there. And then I also like Nicole's. You have no friends, no boyfriend, no contact with the outside world. Oh wait, it's just like home. Like that's just
that one?
I mean, it's just a pretty good zing. That's a good zing. Okay, like it's not nice, whatever. But that's the point of Zingbot.
Right. I mean, pompous douchebag is not nice.
Yeah.
Not nice. But I enjoyed Tommy's, because how accurate is that?
I mean, it is beyond accurate.
Attention whore, and then he's like literally throwing his body around and reacting to it. I mean, it was perfect.
Yes. He's like you know how dancers react in really just stupid ways. Like, if a dancer's excited, they're gonna kick their foot over their head.
Don't get the dancers mad
I know,
at us.
sorry, dancer community. But like, if you're excited, can you not kick your foot over your head? Like, that's not a normal thing to do. Stop that. And Tommy's just like flailing about in these like very graceful ways, and it's like, don't, like, that's not real.
For the record, if I could kick my leg up like that, I would absolutely all day, every day.
Thank God you can't.
Yeah. Okay, so what's interesting that didn't make it into this Zingbot episode was the second layer, we'll refer to it, for Holly's
Yes, right.
So, I think most people go, old Buzzard Holly? Like, she's not that old.
Right, and like, Buzzard's kind of a weird comparison.
Right, like were they just trying to force a bird joke for Nicole?
Sure, yeah.
No, so buzzards are known for, like, sloppy seconds. Leftovers, that's the better way to put it. Leftovers. They go down for that roadkill after, the scraps of what's left. So it's a dig at the whole Kat, Jackson, Holly getting in there second.
Getting in there second like a buzzard.
That I guess they left for just us to talk about because it didn't make the TV show. Yeah. But the only reason it came up is because the DR asked the house guests in the DR, like,
react to the zings.
Do you get the buzzard joke? Do you get it?
Yeah.
No one gets it.
That means
but then they leave and go back into the house and go, Holly, did you know? And Holly's like, what? She was not happy when she learned that.
Because when it was just like, I'm old, she's like, whatever, like,
she's
okay.
like, that doesn't make sense, I don't get it.
That doesn't really hurt that much. But then when it's like, you got the sloppy seconds, she's like, excuse me?
Yeah, she was so mad, she was like, I'm gonna self-inspect. That's so unnecessary.
Okay, Holly.
She was wound up.
Yeah.
But, so I was just interested that didn't make the show.
Yeah, for sure. So right after all the zings happen, we see the zing space cop come in, and he slips, like totally bites it on the way in, which was great. Was it because there's pie on the floor or something? Is that why it's slick? I'm sure it was, or maybe it was just part of the prankster thing. I don't know.
Look,
but it was very funny that he fell. Yeah. So he comes in and he, rounds up Zingbot, and they're taking him to jail or whatever. And then Zingbot is the theme of the veto competition. Yeah. That's sort of like the tease to the veto comp.
Can I just say, I forget his name, but this guy, he's the same Martian and the same guy who yelled at Brent's granny last year and everything, whatever. This was like Emmy Award winning performance.
Yes.
He said, saying, Homeland Security, we gotta take you. Right. And I was just like, this guy is just killing it.
He's great. So I don't know if he's someone on staff for them or...
He was at some point. I don't know if he still is.
Yeah.
I believe he was a producer on the show.
Okay, he's great.
But he's great.
He's fantastic.
Yeah.
So we already know that Cliff and Jess and Jackson were the 3 additional people chosen to play the veto competition.
Oh, wait. Who fell? Jess. Sorry, Jess already fell.
Spoilers.
Okay.
So, well, not a spoiler, because I'm sure we'll know the HOH by the time this...
Oh, it's spoilers! Spoilers!
Yes, spoilers. Spoilers! Okay.
Oh, good lord.
So, the veto competition is like the one where they've got the bar that they're balancing balls on.
The ball has to go up, and you have to like get it into certain holes, but not certain other holes. We saw this one last year. I remember is the one that Tyler threw. I think we've seen it before. You mentioned it a different season. But anyway, So the ball, this is all to unlock Zingbot from the cage that he's locked in.
Yes.
And some people just did not get it.
Right.
Some people really struggled.
Some people who really should have gotten it. Like Holly had a reason to play for this veto, and she didn't really get it. And like Christy didn't really get it.
Just like Christy was horrible at it. She kept dropping it in the wrong holes. It really came down to Nick and Jackson, and Nick had said on the feeds, like, if Jackson hadn't been picked for this veto, I would have had it. And then he was right.
You're right. Yeah, it was a close second.
Yeah.
Yeah. And after Jackson wins the veto, of course he's thrilled because like...
And Holly's thrilled.
Yeah, because they like sort of, they feel like they have the power again as this, you know, duo, even though Holly's HOH, Jackson feels like he's back in power. And so Nick is depressed now, right? And so he's like kind of sulking after the veto competition. And he's like, kind of like arms crossed and talking to Jackson. He's like, dude, you didn't need to win the veto.
You didn't need to win it.
And Jackson's like, dude, like, yeah, I had to play for it. And Nick's like, you didn't need to win it. And he's like, what are you talking about? Like, yeah. And Nick's like, dude, you didn't need to win the veto. And Jackson's like, oh, you're the prankster. Okay, got it. Why didn't you say something beforehand? Like, maybe I wouldn't have played so hard.
Why didn't you say something beforehand, Nick? Way to have a power and just do very little with it.
Right, yeah. So he tells Jackson, and of course Jackson goes and tells Holly, right?
Yes. We knew that Jackson was going to go, it's just between us. Sure.
Yeah.
This is how Holly.
Right.
But then we see Nick tell Tommy.
Yeah, it's
and
just
then
out.
They don't really show a ton of gameplay or conversations with this. We kind of get the gist that Nick is the target. We're not going to change the noms. And then we go to the veto ceremony. And Jackson's about to not use it, but he has to get pied.
Yes. Pied 3 times.
Pied almost.
Except he only gets pied twice because Nicole just cannot get a pie.
He is like so good with that arm. He's just like, boom.
And he gets her. So there's pie everywhere, pie all over his face, and he announces that he is not using the power of veto. So at the end of Wednesday's episode, we are left with Christy and Nick on the block, knowing that Nick is the true target this week.
Yes.
Now the live eviction, right?
Okay.
All right.
First off, Nicole is just the star this week.
The star.
I mean, the Pie Wars is all about Nicole.
Yes.
And then we get more of that with her. Then we even get like a mastermind edit.
Yes, her working on Holly and stuff.
She's like, there is something else about these two.
Yeah, right, because we see her starting to put it together with Nick, where she's like, Nick, it makes no sense that you're like Tommy's ride or die, and yet he promised his vote to Christy. Something's going on there.
This is classic when you are not in power and you can kind of sit back and see things, which Nicole has literally all season been in that position.
Yeah.
She can see it. Whereas Jackson and Holly have been in control for a few weeks now, but they can't see it.
No.
They're up in that HOA
in the room. Exactly.
They're not really getting real conversations. People are just like blowing smoke up their booties. And even though they could do something if they had that information, they just can't see it.
Yeah.
Nicole sees it, can't do anything
She sees it,
about
and she has the added advantage of not having been a target for several weeks now, right? Like we saw her on the block, she almost got evicted, and when you're on the block, you're very focused on how can I save myself. You're not necessarily like looking at everybody and really observing. So she's had several weeks of being very under the radar, not in power, not in danger. And so she is starting to see the Tommy and Christy thing and just starting to ask those questions. And so she takes that up to Holly, and she just plays this very smartly of like, we're working together now, so like I should be bouncing ideas off of you. And she even says to Holly, like, I don't want you to think that I'm trying to save Nick. We're just working together.
That's obvious.
Yeah. But she's like, listen, we just gotta think about what's going on with Tommy and Christy here. Like, is there something?
And she's like, Christy just scares me. Yeah. She's, survived. She was taken off with a veto. She survived last week with an amazing campaign.
Now she's gonna survive again.
Third week in a row. Like, she just did a really good job. I loved this conversation, even though I was terrified that Holly was gonna be like, oh no, Nicole is just all about Nick. But they did a great job. Nicole, she listened when Holly was like, oh, Nick scares me because of these reasons.
Yes.
And Nicole's like, yeah, for sure.
For sure.
And then Christy scares me for these reasons.
Kind of just setting the stage for the future, if nothing else, right? Like, she probably knows that she's not going to be able to save Nick, but she's not necessarily not trying.
But give it a shot.
If she doesn't save Nick, she's at least, like, laying track for people to target Christy still, and not forget that Christy is a massive threat.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think that was a great conversation just in general for Nicole and Holly, because I think Nicole does need Holly. And I definitely don't want Holly to turn against Nicole.
Yeah, she just needs allies. Like, she needs people who aren't going to be targeting her.
Right.
And I don't think that Christy and Tommy are necessarily
they're not
with her the way that Holly and Jackson are currently. Yeah.
No. And it doesn't work. You know, Holly, when Nicole leaves, Holly's like to Jackson, you know, she's got these concerns, but, you know, whatever, Nick's the target. Then we do see Nick's campaign eventually in this episode. He does give it a shot. There was a lot they left out.
Yeah.
Some performance with condoms were involved.
He's so weird.
He's a weirdo, but he was making the point that he is protection. So
like a condom. He put a condom on his arm.
Yeah, on his hand, and then ironically it broke. And he was like, but this one broke. And I'm like, yeah, just like your game. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So ultimately, it's not going to work. As soon as he left, Jackson was like, no.
He just pitched me all the reasons I should get rid of him.
Yeah.
Because he's literally was like, I'm a great competitor, and I'm loyal, and like 5 other things where it's like, well, if you're in final 2, that seems like a winning recipe.
Yeah.
So Jackson's I don't need to keep you.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah, but Nick did his best. He promised them. He promised them like everything. It was almost too much.
And it's not a deal. We're not making a deal. We're not making an alliance.
I'm just working for you.
I'm just gonna work for you. I'm your protection. Great, good job. Thanks for not rolling over and dying. Thanks for not just handing it to Christy.
Yeah.
But it wasn't gonna work.
Yeah.
Because they already burned their stupidity points on keeping Christy last week.
Yes. Yes.
So they're just gonna keep keeping her for no reason whatsoever.
Now, we did get one more super fun Nicole segment in this after the pie punishment and the mastermind segment.
Yes.
Now it's the clowns, right? And everybody's scared of the clowns at first.
Yeah. The clowns are so scary, but then they like upped it a notch because the house guests hid from her, and she literally stood in that kitchen.
Frozen.
I think it was like 20 minutes where she was just like, I'm so scared. I don't know what to do.
Where is everybody?
I don't want to look for you.
I can't move.
Everybody? What's going on?
Yes.
Big Brother shuts the lights on.
Oh my God, so good.
So fun to watch.
And then one thing they didn't show in the episode was she like finally started to move and like went up into the HOH room, and they were all like hiding from her in there, so she's like even more scared. But she was getting a lot of good edits this week.
I mean, we didn't see her for a good half of the season, so it's nice to finally see her.
Yes,
because she is entertaining.
Yeah. Then we get a jury segment.
Okay, we don't need that.
Let's move on.
Pass.
Okay, thanks. And then we go to the live vote and eviction, which, as we suspected from watching the feeds and sort of understanding what's going on, it was a unanimous vote to evict Nick. And he, in his interview with Julie, he was not as on Tommy's side as Sis was, which we saw the week before. She was all like, Tommy's the best person who's ever been created in the whole wide world in the history of forever, right?
Yeah, right.
And Nick is like, Tommy's kind of like not really that loyal. Like he claims he's loyal, but he got me out, he got Sis out, he got Jack out, and we were supposedly like his dogs or whatever. And so he seems to suggest that Tommy is going to have maybe some trouble with the jury if he makes it far.
And that's interesting because he's now going into the jury, right?
Where he is
singing the praises of Jackson and Holly.
Yeah.
And he is very disappointed in the way that Tommy and Christy are playing. And that honestly, that's what Nick has been saying all week, is like that blow when Tommy was like, I promised Christy my vote, just didn't make sense to Nick.
Yeah.
The upside is Tommy and Christy have done a good job of playing like they're not together.
Yeah.
So people like Nick just didn't see it.
They didn't see it.
Nick thought he was closer to Tommy.
Yeah.
That bodes well for Tommy's game, and honestly, if it's Tommy and Christy sitting in final 2 and they reveal that they knew each other before the house and that is why they were loyal, then you have to give them props for that. But Nick is the one walking into the jury house right now and going to say, Christy played dirty, Tommy's not loyal, look at what he did to us. Jackson and Holly are playing amazing, and that is actually what could influence the other people who are in the jury already.
Yeah, totally.
So that's just interesting in how the game can change, because back to, we like breezed over the jury segment, but like Sis can't vocalize what happened. And she sat there, Jack's like, what happened? And she was like, Christy just, she said something about Nick.
She blew up Nick on Taco Tuesday.
She stayed. And it's like, whoa, okay, so they're getting no info from Sis.
No info from Sis, of course.
Right, so Nick is gonna be the first one to walk in with like actual influence.
And like strong opinions on people. Like I think Sis was just like, I was shocked that Jackson nominated me.
Right.
But it wasn't like Jackson betrayed me or anything like that. Like Nick is the first one coming in being like, these people should win, these people should not. Yeah. That kind of thing, you know?
This is what happened really well and this is what happened poorly. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, we have an HOH endurance wall comp happening right now live on the feeds.
Yes.
While this is happening,
what are the spoilers here? It looks like Cliff just fell.
He's walking by.
So it looks like 4 left. And I suspected that it would come down to Christy, Nicole, and Tommy, and they are all left with Mickey, with Jackson. And Jackson said he's going to throw this one, so it'll be interesting to see if and when he falls.
This is what's really interesting about this week. Jackson feels so safe. Last week, he thought he orchestrated some amazing thing. He got Christy to promise that she's working for him. He got Tommy to have nowhere to turn.
Yeah.
He has Cliff and Nicole in a final 4 with him. He thinks he is sitting pretty.
Yeah.
And this week just validated all of that. And he actually honestly said,
I'm gonna throw it.
These people aren't coming for me.
I don't need it.
I'm gonna throw the F out of this competition.
What?
He in no way wants anyone, because he's won a lot of comps lately.
Sure.
Vetoes, he had that HOH. So like he doesn't want, he doesn't want to add more comps if he doesn't have to, and he feels so safe. So even though he's still hanging up there.
Yeah, oh, Christy just fell. That's good for Jackson.
Oh, that's interesting. Now I was really gonna say that Christy was gonna win this.
Yeah.
Which I'm fine with, because she will put Jackson up.
Yeah.
But Jackson will drop if it is Nicole and Tommy, I think, because he feels good with both of them.
Yeah.
This is interesting. I mean, I'd love for Nicole to finally win something. That would be amazing.
That would be amazing. It's good for Jackson's game that Christy fell, because the truth is, what he doesn't know is that she's saying, my deal with them is done.
Yeah.
I did what I had to do. I mean, we saw a little bit in the episode where she was like, I was a pawn this week, so like, we're all done, like, deal made. And they're like, what the No, you were not a pawn. You were put up by the prankster. This does not, like, seal our deal.
Right.
But to other people in the house, she's like, I don't need to honor that deal anymore. I did what I had to do.
Yeah.
And I think she is delusional enough that she actually believes that.
Yeah.
So if Jackson tries to come at her with like actual logic and reason and be like, you were not a pawn, she'll be like, yes, I was. Like, the deal is done. Whatever. So she's gonna come after he and Holly, because she's got to. They're a duo, right? Like, it's a good move, but that might be a little shocking to Jackson because he feels very in with her.
Right. And Tommy has said just yesterday during all this campaigning that Jackson's got to go. So, but I don't know that Tommy wants to play this game where he was nice to everybody. I don't know that Tommy's willing to take Jackson out.
Yeah.
But I also don't think Tommy's willing to give it to Nicole. So he might hang on tight.
I could see Tommy winning this one for sure.
Yeah.
He's got the strength and the low center of gravity for the wall comp to like be right up his alley.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. And what else do we have this week? We have the double eviction.
Double next Thursday.
Which we've been hoping for weeks now. So I am so excited to see this play out. And like, whoever wins this first HOH is
they can't play in the double.
That's gonna be big.
It's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
I actually really like this timing. I mean, we were getting to the point where we were like, I guess the double's not happening this season.
Yeah.
But now it's like, oh, there's like barely anyone in the house.
Yeah.
This is like a really like scary time for a double. So
absolutely.
I love it.
Yeah. I mean, it's gonna go from 7 people to 5, and then we're like almost at the end of the season. So
yes, we are.
Yeah. I know.
So good. Okay, well, by the time this is up, I'm sure we'll know who HOH is, but I'm looking forward to a new week.
Yes, yes. So, since you probably know who the HOH is at this point, let us know your thoughts and what their strategy should be.
And we will see you Monday night to recap the Sunday episode and Veto spoilers.
We'll see you then.
Okay, bye.
Bye.